Hello, Zinger Nation, and happy Friday here at almost the end of April. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We have a great show coming up today. As you may have already seen on socials, we are talking to two of the founders of SuperRare, John Crain, co-founder and CEO, Jonathan Perkins, co-founder and CPO. SuperRare, of course, is one of the top 10 exchanges. Their focus is particularly on original artists and one of ones from a curated point of view. Also, one of the largest DAOs that's operating right now. So they're a very interesting platform, very interesting operation that I've been wanting to dig a little bit deeper into. So I'm super glad to have John and Jonathan on the show with me here today. As always, please like and subscribe. It helps keep YouTube and the mighty algorithm happy with us, of course. And if you have any comments, please go ahead and put them in the live stream. Also, we're going to do a Twitter Spaces immediately after this, so I will post that link, or they will post the link for me in the comments section. But without any further ado, thanks everyone for joining us. Let me go ahead and bring on John and Jonathan. Hello, guys.
Hey, what's up, Justin?
How are you today? Thank you very much for joining me, both of you. SuperRare has been doing, really tremendously well, along with, all of the NFT space. Well, more or less. I mean, at least I shouldn't say that, actually, with the top tier of NFT projects over the past 21 and 22. I know that you've been around for 4 years. Did the sudden explosion in 2021? It can't have been as much of a surprise to you as it was to me. It really was. I had no idea. I was holding on to an ERC20 that was a racing pig for like several years before that. If you told me NFTs were going to be the next big thing, I would have kind of thought that was sort of silly, to tell you the truth. Just show you how prescient I am. What about you guys? When were you gearing up? Were you gearing up for this kind of explosion? I mean, to be honest, like here it is, like you've got like people's, aunts and moms asking them about NFTs. It has that kind of penetration right now. Did you anticipate this, Jonathan?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So, like you said, we've been around for 4 years. We started in early 2018, and we really, started building what became SuperRare in late 2017. Really, kind of even before the ERC 721 standard was finalized, and we had pretty high conviction that this ability to kind of register and trade digital assets was going to be a really, really huge thing.
Right.
And we obviously set out to kind of disrupt and make some improvements in the art market space. And so we always conceived of this as being a massively kind of consumer friendly application, and opening the door to millions and millions of artists and collectors to this new market. It was very slow to grow in the first 2 years of the project. And I would certainly say that the kind of like the suddenness with which it happened, that everyone kind of like woke up one day and like, everyone on the street now, like that I talk to, like knows what NFTs are. The rapid acceleration was certainly a surprise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are definitely more than one meeting we had, kind of like even in late 2020, numbers were kind of steadily going up, and internally we'd be like, all right, guys, marketplaces are volatile. Who knows what's going to happen? Like, things can't just keep growing forever. And every month we were sort of proved wrong. So even being on the inside, it was surprising growth.
Turns out things can grow forever permanently. That's defying all. I mean, if NFTs keep up like they have over the past 2 years, I don't know that any other single product or market of anything can match the rate of growth that we've had. How do you scale for that? How do you scale? Like, don't you worry about, like, well, of course you're a DAO now. I guess that makes it, or you're functioning as a DAO. So that maybe makes it does it make it more complicated to deal with? How do you be able to scale your bandwidth to meet that kind of growth and that kind of demand? Also bearing in mind that like things could happen, projects could suddenly drop greatly in price and that sort of thing. I mean, you're in a slightly different position than just a regular project, but how do you think about it?
Yeah. So, I mean, for us, we launched the DAO last summer and the rare token. And a big part of that was thinking about how does this scale? And so we built a product called SuperRare Spaces, which are independently curated galleries or storefronts. So like independently curated parts of SuperRare. And the idea there being that, we have an incredible curation team and I think helped do it. Like we did a pretty good job kind of helping to usher in this movement. But really, there's a lot of different curatorial voices. And so I think allowing other people to help curate, participate in that curation process on SuperRare, is a way that we can really achieve web scale while at the same time still adding in that kind of human element that makes curation and art and culture really interesting.
Right, and you just had your second big vote to vote for these spaces. You called it your second space race and launched 10 new spaces. So I'd like to talk about that a little bit and about what we're doing there because I think it's an interesting approach. But in the meantime, in terms of functioning as a DAO, when I used to work in the arts, which I did for a long time, I have backgrounds in performance and theater and stuff and writing. We used to have a saying, which is that committees always choose beige, right? Because you've got all these people dealing with each other and you end up with this mean average that's, something least offensive to everybody. How do you keep the same thing from happening in a decentralized voting system? I'm asking from the point of view of literally, I have no idea. I mean, once you turn over the running of that platform to a foundation like that, isn't that terrifying? I mean, what if people choose things that are simply ridiculous,
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think I don't disagree, and I think that's there's a risk there, but I think it comes down to the way the kind of ecosystem is designed and the way the incentives are designed. So with the space race and with spaces, what we're doing, like John said, is each space is a independently curated gallery or storefront or like kind of node in a network that's run by one person or one team. And so what we're doing with the community now in the space race is we're kind of curating the curators. And so we're running these elections, and the winners aren't committees. They're individuals, and they can kind of set it up, set up their space and kind of run it independently. So these are both curatorial environments but also businesses. These are commission taking kind of gallery model nodes in the network, and they're free to kind of curate and act as they like. So to us, that is a path to scalability with kind of taking your cautionary words to heart, because I do think there's that risk.
What if they make everything orange, or double down on something that just doesn't materialize? I mean, let's say like everybody's saying right now. Go ahead, sorry.
As we say in the space, if you let the crowds curate, then like art just becomes like cats and butts. That's the saying in the space.
And hopefully not cats with butts. We don't want to. That would just be terrible. We
can't rule it out.
You can't rule it out. It's hard to summarize the dark soul of the internet after all. But okay, like I like the idea of the spaces. I found that I should have talked to you guys sooner. Really, I like your focus on curation. Nifty was kind of doing a similar thing for a while there, but now they're really kind of not. And you have more of a focus of on one of one. Which to me is very appealing. Like I like artists. I like to talk to people who are actually doing things. Is that a matter of is that approach a reflection of your philosophy about this, because you're looking to tie it into to stake it against like a piece of art that has intrinsic value, or where did the focus on one of ones and of original art come from?
Yeah, a big part of it was to help people understand So, when we launched, this market was small, if not non-existent. And we were really trying to get people to understand this idea of digital art. Everyone was like, what about right click and save? Like, I can just copy it. And so we were really trying to think about, what constraints could we add to really help tell the story? And so, with the one-of-one art, it's like, the idea was like, it's just like a painting. You have one, you take it home, it's at your house. This one just happens to be digital. So you have one, you can take it home, it's in your profile. You're the only person who can own this one. And so that was a big part of it. Like, if you think about editions, the number, like, really, when someone creates a piece of art, there's some inspiration. They've created something that's telling a story. And with editions, like, if there's 30 of them, how is that really different than 100? Whereas, like, really, there's just one art piece there. And so, it was partially philosophical and also partially just trying to, like, figure out a way to really help explain, what the digital art market is.
Do you think that early decision has contributed to the fact that you've kind of remained in there as one of the top 10 players? Because these days, the NFT marketplaces is looking like a pretty crowded space.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. I think, go for it, John.
Oh yeah, no, I was just going to say, I mean, I certainly do think that, it was an early differentiator. Collectors responded to it. Like John said, a large part of our job as, pioneers of, this kind of like non-existent market in the space was really just to help people understand that this was a viable market and not a joke, and get collectors to take this seriously. And, and that allowed us to kind of like differentiate and build a unique brand and a unique community, and something that really, continues to resonate with people. And I wanted to kind of just double tap on this idea that, SuperRare is a curated platform. And what that really means is, it's not always what people think it means. So SuperRare at its heart is a creator platform, just like Instagram. So every creator on SuperRare actually has keys or has access to just mint artwork and add it to their profile and sell whenever they want, whatever they want. And that's, in contrast to, like you mentioned, Nifty, where they're not really a creator platform. They're more of like a drop or like auction platform where the company is actually minting the works and then listing them, and the artists like don't have anything to do the next day. And so we're really kind of trying to curate the community and cultivate like a focus on, continue the reputation for high quality art and culture and authenticity, so that, it's like kind of a trusted environment for collectors. But really, it's all about kind of like building a, new and better creator economy.
Real talk though, Jonathan. Real question for you here. Does all the notable people entering the space? I mean, I get you get the feeling that every celebrity at some point or another, or anybody with any modicum of celebrity, will be doing NFTs if they aren't already. They probably been approached by cousins and nephews asking them to do NFTs, and nieces. It used to be a little bit more, the space used to be our space in a lot of ways. Is that do you find that off-putting at all?
Yeah, I mean, there's a meme in the space of the kind of like low effort celebrity NFT. And I think those things are pretty, pretty transparent, and, not to give financial advice, but I personally don't see those things maintaining kind of cultural relevance going forward. And so, I think that there's a lot of kind of frothy and kind of speculative and somewhat eye-rolly stuff going on with NFTs now. And that kind of comes with the territory. We've seen the same thing with cryptocurrencies as a broader market. But that really has made us double down and have even higher conviction in our path of, we've got like a 10, 20, 50 year time horizon with our strategy and the culture that we're trying to build, and trying to cultivate a community that really is in this for like a, kind of the long-term thinking and the kind of generational revolution.
But you can see how I'm going to pick a Nifty for a little while because I get all of their press. They clearly use. Now I was happy to talk to David Cronenberg, who was on your platform with a one of one, and he was great. Oh God, what a brilliant dude. He's like, he was awesome, and he really what a natural transition for a guy to go from his work, which was all kind of transformative and futurist to begin with in the horror vein, and then the technology makes I can see why he gets it so much, but clearly you've got like a volume of drops, like you can see Nifty cultivating sort of like they have a regular kind of running menu of notable names of Doja Cat or whoever's coming out. I don't know. Tons of people coming out and using that as a way to promote. That doesn't seem to be as much the strategy for SuperRare.
No,
how are you attracting attention? How are you looking to build your part of the ecosystem, of the marketplace ecosystem, especially in a space that's dominated by this 800-pound Goliath, which is OpenSea. It kind of leaves everybody else sort of struggling over the rest of the market. Not that it's a contracting market or anything, but how do you see SuperRare, maintaining a position of importance, 10 years from now?
Yeah, so I mean, I think a big part of it is really the reputation and intent behind, why are people here? And I think you see, some of these low effort celebrity drops. Well, currently NFTs are new and exciting, but really that's just the technology layer. And I think really, truly creative artists are the ones who are going to do well over a 10-year time horizon. And so,
Sure.
There are lots of shiny things, and it's, it's still really, it's relatively early and people are still learning about the technology. Eventually it becomes ubiquitous, right? We've seen, Instagram's going to allow people to, or, rumored to be working on tools to allow people to mint. So, this technology is going to be everywhere. Everyone will be minting. It won't, eventually the novelty wears off. And then really it is, artists who are truly creating interesting art, just like music. It's like everyone has a guitar at their house, but they wouldn't say I'm a guitarist and I'm a musician.
Right.
There's some individuals who are truly special creating, interesting, life-changing work. And I think that's really going to, rise above the rest once some of the novelty wears off.
Did SuperRare, spring out of an interest in the art world as well as blockchain, or was it blockchain that kind of poured it over into art?
No, really, it was both. So I had just personally been interested in kind of processing and generative art. I worked in advertising prior to getting interested in crypto. And had always kind of wondered, there were people who I followed on Tumblr and then Instagram who were doing really interesting generative art. And it was always just an interesting sort of thought experiment. How do you collect or support a generative artist? I'm not going to buy your GitHub repo where the code lives. And so that was just an open question. And then Jonathan and myself were fairly involved in the Ethereum ecosystem. We kind of saw the early workings and discussion around NFTs. And I was just it's a digital certificate of authenticity. That's where the real value in the art market lies anyway, right? It's, you're trusting somebody who says, that's actually a Picasso. Here's a certificate of authenticity. And so kind of marrying those two concepts together was the spark of inspiration.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting. So in terms of these spaces, well, okay, I know that you're looking for an area, where you can empower creators. I know that's something that you believe very much in, this Web3 ideology of empowering the creator and having more of a two-way exchange between creator and audience. How is SuperRare helping to accomplish that? What kind of tools are you providing for? Because at this point, honestly, I not only assume that 80% of celebrities are all looking to do NFT projects when I talk to them. I honestly assume like half of people are like everybody's jumping into the space. It's even crazier than like 2016 with crypto. So and the ICOs. So like,
yeah.
What are you providing to help make that easier? Like, is SuperRare a good place to start if you're looking to get a project off the ground?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and I'm actually going to kind of tie it back to your last question about OpenSea and Nifty. So we're certainly focused on creator tools, but we're increasingly focused on the curatorial layer of NFTs. So we think that there's going to be trillions and trillions of NFTs, I think Google Chrome or like even the iPhone could add a button that is just like create NFTs. So like the tools, the barrier to entry to use this new technology is dropping to zero, and so the importance of curation is going to be increasingly important, and I think increasingly valuable. So when it comes to a platform like OpenSea, I like OpenSea. I think there's absolutely the need for a generalized kind of NFT exchange layer. You can buy, whatever you want. You can buy insurance contracts and domain names and all this stuff. It's very useful. But when you think about the transition of the art market and the transition of kind of culture, like the magnitude, the size of human culture on the internet is absolutely massive. And what we're seeing now is the digitization of that and the democratization of that. And to us having, a focus on curation, a community and a kind of curatorial layer that exists there to kind of make it artful is the direction that we're going. And I think that, in these early days, it seems like one NFT marketplace is just like another. But I think on the long time horizon that it looks very, very different. And there's a huge value capture there's a huge market in huge size of the future digital art market. And so, while we are absolutely creating focus on creator tools, collector tools, we're increasingly focused on making this this curatorial layer a reality. And in addition, doing that in a kind of community focused way. So being a DAO, these curatorial tools aren't for us; they're for the community.
Has there been an interesting experience? Starting to get that feedback from these open votes. Has there been anything that surprised you in terms of people's interest?
I think the interest has been stronger than I initially thought it would be. Looking at some of the other DAOs, especially in the DeFi space, voter apathy is really a challenge. But for the space race, it really hasn't been a challenge. I think for the first race, we had almost 40% of the circulating supply participate in the vote because it was really exciting to bring on these new curators. And so I think
votes, right? And it's kind of like you're establishing, Jonathan alluded to nodes. It's kind of like establishing nodes on a regular network, right? Like sort of a parallel to that by creating these mini spaces.
Yep, absolutely. So, it is really adding new nodes to the network. And like, we kind of think about it as a curation network. And kind of like John mentioned, trying to shift in people's minds the idea that Super is a place that curates to Super is a place where curation happens. Like we have nothing to do with what happens in the different spaces. And as this grows, right, that you have like an exponential amount of curation taking place, helping to surface new and interesting parts of this ecosystem.
Right. Well, I mean, there must come a point at which, I'm not sure what you guys were selling. What are you even selling in 2018? What was on an NFT marketplace in 2018? Or were you selling anything? I'm just, real question. I've interviewed 50 NFT platforms. I've never asked this, so I'm just curious.
Yeah. So, it's really this, our core model hasn't changed. We onboard, original digital artists who then, once they register their wallet, they're creating single edition digital art And so, from day one, that was the market. We've certainly, it's evolved a lot. We now have the ability for artists to create their own, kind of sovereignly owned like smart contracts and do larger series of works and different auction mechanisms and stuff like that. But really, the difference is the shift in understanding. In 2018, it was just kind of like, what are you guys doing? People don't spend money on JPEGs. Like, you guys should get a real job. And now, we see the, this new art market really has legs.
Right. Absolutely. So in terms of what people went for in the spaces, were there any surprises? Like tell me about, I know that you've got 10 new ones. Tell me about one that you find most interesting, Jonathan.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. There's some that are run by, more traditional gallerists. There's some that are run by, collectors who are trying to kind of give back to the community. There's some that are art collectives that are, focused on the region, say Latin America. One that I find super interesting that is soon to launch, it's called the Verse, and it's a collective of poets. So they're doing... they're building a community that's focused on minting poetry as NFT art for the first time. So I think projects like that are, you can kind of think of it almost like spaces are, kind of akin to like subreddits, where they're kind of like bespoke and like, increasingly self-governed, kind of sub communities of SuperRare that can be formed around a single theme. And so they can kind of attract and build a community of their own, and taking it in a totally different direction. Like, John and I weren't sitting around and, saying like, oh, let's launch like a poetry curation project, right? So
that one surprises me a little bit, honestly. I mean, I approve. That's great. I love artists, but in this space, I would have taken myself to be in the minority, which is kind of part of the cultural shift that's happened here, right? I mean, first of all, it's more, I don't know, well, I'm sure you have demographics on your audience, but it is by reputation more demographically balanced between men and women, for example. The personality has changed a little versus sort of the archetypal crypto bro of 2018. Like NFTs have sort of brought something new and some new creativity to the scene. John, what do you think is going to drive the most growth in 2022? Are you as bullish on metaverse as everyone else seems to be? Are you GameFi? Well, what do you think? Where do you think the growth is going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think the metaverse is great, right? Like, we've seen even early on for us, right? That was a helpful driver, just kind of like really helping tell the story. Like, look, here's another thing you can do with your art that, you couldn't do before. But I think, so we recently announced that we're launching a SuperRare gallery, which is going to be an IRL. So, kind of like the metaverse, but it's a real place that people go in real life. And it's going to be in New York. And I think, we're still in this small bubble where lots of people have heard of NFTs, but, they've just seen the headlines. They think they're ridiculous. They're still asking, why are people collecting JPEGs? And I think experiences like, the SuperRare gallery that's launching in Soho, where people can come interact with the art, meet artists, talk to collectors, and really kind of understand that there is this cultural revolution happening, will certainly help drive a lot of that growth. So,
do you think it'll lead to real continued like increased interest in art? I mean, specifically from this cohort of people who weren't showing, they didn't have it in 2017.
Well, so I think, I mean, a big part of it for me was that, like, if you think about the art market, it serves like, or kind of like the traditional art market, it serves a very small number of artists. And it's very hard to get access as a collector, right? Like, if you go to a prestigious gallery in New York, they're going to look at you and say, who are you? Like, I don't even want to sell my art to you. I've never seen you before. And so there's very strange dynamics and sort of like structure in place. And I think this is sort of the opposite. The NFT market is sort of inclusive by nature. anyone can go mint an NFT anywhere. Anyone can buy it on any platform. And so it's from the ground up structurally different than the existing market. And I think people have an inherent want and desire to support the arts, and collecting things is just fun. You know, like it's fun to buy art from your friends. It's fun to go to art fairs. And so I think a lot of these barriers are becoming increasingly low. And so they'll just be due to human nature. We're going to see continued exponential growth in the NFT space.
Well, I think it's been very good talking to both of you. We're going to go switch over to Twitter Spaces for the Q&A and after party, as I always call it. Please, everyone, I'm about to post the link. Come on over and join us in our Twitter Spaces. It's a great opportunity to ask more questions of the guys, and we look forward to meeting you all over there. So, John and Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on to speak to me about SuperRare. This has been great to meet both of you. I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely,
yeah, likewise.
Justin. Yeah.
All right, thanks guys. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, so there we go, and it's just me now. And now everyone like and subscribe. I'm sure no one's ever said that to you on YouTube before, but please do. It's always helpful for us. And come on and join us over at the Twitter Spaces. I'm actually going to go ahead and start that right now. So come on over. I literally just started on my phone because last time I couldn't figure out how to. That was a disaster. Yes, and smash the like, says Logan, who's sitting over there, and he's going to join us in the Twitter Spaces. That's another reason to come on over. Thank you, everyone. Love our audience as always. Thank you so much for coming out and watching the show today, and we'll see you over on Twitter. Thank you.